Afia, proudly brought to you by Qtix PLC, exclusive quality since 1982.
Ndewo onye ọma na-ege ntị, afa m bụ Nwaada Odera Collins. Ebe anyị nọ tata bụ n'ụlọ ihe nkiri nke ndị Afia TV. Anyị makwa na ife anyị bịara ime, okay? Ihe a na-eme bụ Onye Afia. Yes, my name is Odera. Welcome to the show. It is such a pleasure to have you here today. Now we're discussing a very common, important. This topic leaves emotions in the minds of people because for many, they would tell you that they do not want to have anything to do with it. But what are we talking about? We're talking about politics. I'm sure that if you went through the dictionary meaning of politics, you'd realize that it's a concept that tilts towards serving mankind, serving humanity. But in recent times, we have moved or we have gravitated the meaning of politics to money making. I'm sure you talk to some people and they'll tell you things like, oh, I want to go into politics because that is my retirement plan. Shocking, you must think, right? Yeah, it's shocking for me too. Today we're going to be dissecting politics. Is it the new money making venture? Is it the new oil well? And joining me in this conversation is my distinguished guest, Ajuluchukwu Edechiene. Yes, he will be picking up the conversation with me shortly after this break. See you soon.
Onye Afia, proudly brought to you by Qtix PLC, exclusive quality since 1982.
Welcome back. You are tuned into Onye Afia on AfiaTV. My name is Odera Collins, and the conversation today is politics. Is politics the new money-making venture? Is it now an escape from poverty? To have this conversation with me is Ajuluchukwu Edechiene. He is a politician and a civic educator and also a surveyor. Ajulu, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. You look gorgeous.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Now, it's always interesting when I, come across people, especially young people, not people in general, but young people who are in politics because, that industry is something that has been frowned upon for the longest because of obvious reasons, right? But I would just like to quickly get two things. But for starters, I would like to quickly get a backstory. How did you go into politics?
Well, okay. So I joined politics actively in 2005. Okay. That was when I picked my first party card as a PDP member. And I think that was the year I turned 19. And coming out from the seminary school, I think we read too much stories, too much books on politics. And it was something I wanted to do right after I left the seminary, and I enjoyed the church politics. People don't know that there is a lot of politics going on in the church. The state and the church, here when I'm in the church, no disrespect to other churches. I mean the Catholic Church, or the Orthodox churches now, maybe now for Enugu, looking at the Anglican and the Catholic Church. So the state and the church, they hold this balance in our lives, that they virtually most times control what happens in our lives. So coming out from the church, I wanted to get into the state, so then I joined like partisan politics, and from there I went to school. I went to UNEC, and I've never introduced myself as a surveyor, because that's something I left quite long ago. Okay. So I went to UNEC and I fully participated in the student politics. Yeah, right from my first year in school, I went to the I went to the faculty house in my first year, and throughout my year, I got to the NANS level of politics, which is another drama, Yeah. So, but I would define myself as a failed politician,
Why?
So I tried to now, after leaving school and after all those years, I tried to now run for elective position, and my first trial, was a disgrace. I didn't even get to the primaries, So yeah, so since then I haven't tried again, and People say I play opposition politics in my party, because I'm a PDP member, I'm in Enugu, and will I say I'm the voice of opposition on Twitter, but but that's as far as it has gone.
As far as it goes. Now, talking about politics, would you say that it is about service, regarding to the topic of our conversation today, would you say that politics is about service or service to self?
Okay. I think politics is about service, generally, whether it's to self or to the community.
You're serving,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we throw around this word that politics as is a new industry, right? I don't want to believe that, because it has always been an industry, And when people now, like you said, when you see young people, Chimaroke Namani was my age.
When he
became governor, he was 39, right? Mm-hmm. And so what has happened over the last 3 decades is that certain generation have perpetuated themselves in politics, right? And they have virtually run everything down, right? So, okay, I will use an example. Hopefully this year or next year, the governor of Enugu State solves the water problem. They have been trying to solve the water problem for the past 3 decades. So are we to now be happy when they finally do that? And this is a certain generation, right? So young people are not supposed to, be kept outside, in your organization now, in this organization. Who are the people running the organization?
I mean, young people,
They're below 40.
Yes.
Yeah. Look at the top firms that CEOs, they're in their maybe 40s, 30s. They're young people, right? So if young people can do well in these areas of life, why can't they do well
in politics?
And politics is a conglomerate of all profession. So many people are coming in, to do this. So when this negative connotation about politics being an industry, when you hear that, you hear about corruption, self-enrichment, and all that. But it shouldn't be so. Why it's so is that certain persons decided to hold this, it's no longer about service, it's about power. I will use the popular wiki phrase, give me power, So they want power. So when they get power, they don't want to leave power. So they hold on to it. But if it was about service, it's not about power, right? It's about representation of people. So you are representing your people. You're going to the house, you're representing your people. There was this stupid thing that I did, a few months back when the vote was going to come up in the House of in the National Assembly, the vote for the suspension of the governor of what's it called, of Rivers State.
Rivers State, yes.
Yeah. So on Twitter we're like, everybody should reach out to their representative and tell your representative what to do and all that. I reached out to my own representative. We are all in the same party. So I reached out. I was like, hey, yeah, this vote is going to come up, and this is what we as the people want. And graciously, he responded to me. And he went to that house, and I don't think any of our voices mattered. They did what they want to do to, for their interest. So it's no longer a service at that point, because if you look at what is happening, it's about power. It's not about service. But honestly speaking, politics should be about service. And it's an industry. Whether it's new or old, it's the same industry. It's as old as prostitution. They are the same thing, depending on how you're looking at it. So it should be about service, and it is an industry. So I want us to step away from that negative connotation, because it's that negative connotation that kicks people away from it. So what happens in politics is the same thing as what happens in every other industry. It's the same thing. It's about providing service.
But is it really the same thing? Because, if we're to talk about issues, barriers to entry, let's start from there. I mean, like you said, you can start at the grassroots. We have that as a conversation. But what happens when young people aspire for, bigger offices? And even let's take it away from young people. What happens when people who genuinely want to serve, but maybe do not have the financial capacity? I mean, we see campaign tickets costing millions. We see cost of the campaign period and all that. So is it really, just a connotation, or is it just something we've come up with, or is it just a realistic point of view?
Oh, okay. Yeah, but now putting all these things together, we're talking about financing, right?
Financing campaigns.
Even
purchasing the tickets.
Yeah.
Let's start from purchasing the tickets.
So there are barriers. There are barriers to getting into politics. So also there are barriers to getting a job.
Definitely. But in comparison, it doesn't pale.
But because there are barriers to this, shouldn't make one
deter you
from going into politics. And like I said, there are no much difference from what is happening in politics and what is happening in our day-to-day life, because it's about service. Let's not forget that. Right now, we want water. Every average Enugu, if you want, what do you want? In the last election, it was water.
More for me,
of course.
As someone who's lived here for a while. More.
It was about water. It was. I think so many people voted for Peter. There was this clip of the governor that people watched, and he talked about how he's going to tackle water. And for the first time, we heard someone speak to us. Right? I will give something to Mba. Maybe I'll give him 2 over 10 on this, about whenever he tries to speak, which he's not doing very often. Whenever he tries to speak, he communicates, to a certain degree. And I'll tell people that they do us, the more you
look, the less you see.
Yeah, but whenever he tries to speak, he communicates. And he did that when there was that extension during the election period. So people were like, oh, wow, now we have somebody who is talking to us. And that should be politics. Now I do communication for development. And it's about communicating with the people, telling the people what's happening, right? So if we, move away from this negative connotation about politics, and who are the people creating this vibe? It is the politicians, right? It is the politicians, because it's about grabbing of power. So they perpetuate themselves on the seat. They don't want to leave, and they hire thugs. Because growing up, politics was about how much rugged you look, how much violence you can create, right? Looking at 2003 election, it was one of the most violent elections in Enugu State. Right? So 2007, it was a bit violent, but from 2011, things started changing, right? They were killing people back then. So
what prompted the change?
But institutional. It was institutional. Yaradua came on board and said that he would not want the process that brought him in to continue. It was simple. And he changed that. 2011 election, things changed. In 2015, things changed, right? And then we started having the institutional. Before now, it was people forcing themselves on us. Right now, it is now an institution forcing people on us. So there's a flip. So we have people force themselves into politics. 1999, 2003, 2007, we have people force themselves into power. Now there is a reverse.
What would you say? What would you say prompted that reverse?
State capture, right? State capture, because we let things happen and we don't want to address the root cause, right? like I keep saying, we've given away so much of our agency, right? And remember these two people I talked about, the state and the church. They took so much of our agency away, right? The church tells us that we have a better place we're going to. So we don't really pay attention
to where we are now.
The state keeps telling us that if you give us more time, we're going to fix this problem, right? And we're not interrogating any of this statement. We believe them, right? That things is going to get better, right? So we don't have agency. And we can bring this agency down to the lowest level, our community. Town union leaders steal money and they still parade within the town. And nobody is doing anything about it. There is no shame. Like literally, we should be calling people, your dad is a thief because your dad stole money in the town. So if town union leaders could steal money and every day he's in the town and nobody's saying anything, politicians are stealing money and nobody's saying anything. Politicians steal money and they come to the church and they give them front rows and they sit down. So nobody's saying anything. So because we've given up so much agency, we don't even take responsibility for ourselves. We do not. You see someone, they will do roads, connecting to your house. You will still want government to come and do your pavement, right? You want government to come and clean your gutters. You want government to do everything. You want the church to do miracle for you. So
But is that like a chicken and egg situation? Because if you say, people don't, the orientation, because what we're talking about now is orientation, or they fix the road, you're waiting for them to come and do the pavement. So is it something that should, knowledge that we should have as a case of nurturing, or knowledge that we should have, when I say nurturing, I mean from the smallest unit in the society, which is the family, or is it something that should be nurtured in form of regarding education? For example, I mean, anyone who went to primary school somewhere from the late 90s, early 2000s must have done civic education. So you know that if you're passing a street and the tap is running, because I think it starts from there. But where do you think this starts from? Is it from the home or? Because if we say it's from the school, then that means it falls back to the government, right? We're not talking about, the curriculum and all that.
I think our problem starts and ends with the government. Squarely, right? And
so the individuals have no part to play.
We do, right? Humans are animals, right? The reason why we have a state is that we expect the state to be better than us, right? If there is no law, likely I might shoot you. But because there is a law protected by the state, I won't want to do that because I know there is the state will come after me, right? So if the state fix up, because we know the state we are talking about, we know the people that are in the state, they are criminals, majority of them. We know them, right? They are our people, right? Yeah. So if the state fix up, it will cascade down to the last level. So the problem is with the state, the problem is with our politics, the problem is with our religion, right? So we can't separate those things. So if the whole is good, is working, I think the unit will fix up, right? If you know that if you rig election, that if you go to the court will throw you out and jail you. Today I'm reading there's this prof in Cross River who went to Akpabio's place and rigged the election, that he was convicted for 3 years. At the appeal court, he went to appeal, and the appeal, affirmed the judgment today. If these things keeps happening, you won't want to rig election for anybody, right? So I think the failure is in the state. So it's not about the individual. I'm not here, to talk about the individual. The individual is a foolish person.
Is he? So if the individual is a foolish person, doesn't Or isn't it a group of individuals that make up the government, that make up people in power, that make up, people who run the state?
Yeah. So but not everybody's foolish, but, so let me not put it like that way. But if we let the decision to be at your table, at my table, we are selfish beings. Okay. We want something to our own comfort, right? So, but if the state is strong, if the state delivers justice, no matter who, no matter the person, I think things will change. There will be a turnaround. But you will see someone who is a driver and he'll be telling you that if I get the opportunity to get into government, my family will change automatically. So what do you mean? You don't have a qualification to get into government. So why do you think you get into government? He will tell you because miracle happens. So are you seeing the two people do you understand? So there is this thing the church is doing to our psyche, and there is this thing the state is also doing to our behavioral our behaviors, right? So if we want behavioral change, we must be able to interrogate these two entities.
The two entities.
Yeah, that's if we want it. Yeah. So, and like I said, why we are at this stage right now, and why young people, we're millennials, because when we keep talking young people, we're talking about millennials, right?
Yeah.
And the oldest is like 46 right now, right? So millennials, look at the innovation that is happening all over the world. It's led by the millennials, right? The Gen Zs are also coming up. They want to take space. But the older generation, the boomers, they're not leaving anytime soon. They're not about to make space for anybody. So they have turned us into something evil, right? And you look at your what you can offer, and you have to beg. You're qualified for this position. You know what you can do as a presenter. You can do this job.
Yes.
But they have made you to now not believe in yourself. So you see young people and they throw, crumbs to them, and they are praising them. So that's why daddies sing on your mandate to stand and all and all those things.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a whole lot, But if as a young person that you're there and you're doing very well in any industry, right? You should be able to invest in politics.
All right.
That's the word. We should start looking at investing in politics, because politics determine every other thing.
Every other aspect of our society.
Thing. Every other thing. Politics are the center, right? If in the US they have this culture of lobbyists, right? So lobbyists are the people who approach politicians and tell them, okay, can we make this law work? Right? And they will like, okay, this is what it's going to take. And then, okay, yeah, we are going to do this. We're going to fund your campaign. We're going to do this, but this thing must work, right? And who is funding the lobby firms? It's rich entrepreneurs who want a favorable policy for their businesses to grow. Because it is the political climate that determines the business environment.
So they go hand in hand.
Yes. Our last governor stopped Keke by 9. And what happened to the nightlife in Enugu? It tanked.
Yeah. A nosedive. It actually took a nosedive.
And it never came back.
Well, we can't say it never, it hasn't come back because, we haven't stopped.
Okay,
right?
Okay, yeah.
Hopefully. We don't know. The next policy might just come in and,
So the politics matter, because politics determine policy. And policy, if it favors your business, it takes off. Right? Well, look at the tech environment in Enugu in the last 2 decades, right? And look at the people leading it. The persons like Ugarono and the rest of them, right? What has happened? There has not been any state support to it. So in this, I would still, I don't like giving this old generation some thumbs up, but I'll still give it.
Why don't you? Are you an ageist?
No. I'm not. I think we're not angry enough about what they have done to our generation. Those guys practically have.
You know what we're
ruined
going.
us.
We're going to talk. We're going to delve a bit into this when we come back after this short break. See you soon.
Onye Afia, proudly brought to you by Qtix PLC, exclusive quality since 1982.
Welcome back. This is Onye Afia, and we're still on the topic, politics. Is this the new industry? And I've been having this conversation with Ajuluchukwu. Yes. So you were speaking earlier about how, the older generation sort of ruined, or rather has ruined this generation. Can you buttress on that?
Okay, yeah, but before,
briefly,
but before then, I was saying something about what this governor did when he was about to come in.
Mm-hmm.
He brought in his in the committee that they set up, to determine how the government is going to go. He brought in someone like
Ajuluchukwu, yes.
He brought in this young other guy, the commissioner for transport, right? Who owns there is this startup, he was running before they brought him in, and it's about logistics. And they brought him in to now handle the transport, right? So it's what he did, although it's just like 10% out of the whole thing, but what he did is what I think that politicians should be doing. And because of these guys that got into this room that this conversation happened, we can see what has happened to the tech industry. Now they are having a tech fest, they're having tech days, they're having tech. Tech is now a conversation in Enugu, right? So you see the governor every time talking about tech, right? So because people have played the right politics, right? Talking about the lobbyists, the American people and how they lobby and all that. So yes, so it is required that we also understand this. Like I said, we're not angry enough about what the older generation did, and they're still doing, right? So and they demand, to pour salt to injury is that they demand respect from us, the millennials, as we millennials demand respect from the Gen Zs, right? So they demand respect, but respect is earned, right? If at this age that we can't say that this is what the environment has allowed us to contribute to our state, right? Because of this systemic barriers that they have set up, to keep us in poverty in the last 40, 50 years that they got involved in running the state of our affairs, So we're not angry enough about what they have done, and maybe it's all about emotions. We have always been emotional about it, but something started changing in the last election. Not even before the last. I think it started with the NSAS campaign, right? Because I know millennials led the NSAS campaign, right? And it started from there, and we started moving what we are doing in the innovation hubs. We started moving it out to in the social affair, because the innovation hubs is about community. If you want to scale anything, any product, you must have a community that is backing it.
True.
So now we're not bringing it into politics, after the NSAS, because how we're able to organize NSAS and how we're able to sustain it for that long, and this is the first of its kind in this part of the world, now give us an idea that, okay, These guys are not that smart. Yeah, they're not smart. Not even they are not that smart. They're not smart. They are not smart, right? They are criminally smart, so to say. So we started organizing ourselves. We started, putting our money where our mouth is, so to say. But we don't even have money because they kept us in poverty. They ruined us. When those guys went to school, if you look back when they went to school, they were having meals. They even have choice of meals they want to eat. It's just like they crossed the bridge and they said, okay, let's burn it down, right? And now they want us. They tell you that you're lazy. They tell you that you guys are not doing. You guys are too emotional. You guys are ranting on social media. We don't. What else can we do? What else do you want us to do? Because you're working. Back in the days, if you're earning 200,000, you're a big boy. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're earning 600, 800,000, you're struggling, right? So the more you try to come out of the poverty line,
you're in a rat race.
Do you understand? Yeah. So, and it is the same people we've been seeing, the same people that are carrying Mopo around. They have been the same people. Look at the governor. He was here in 2003. He has been here forever. Why? They have all been, those same guys have been seen since I joined politics. So when are they going to leave the stage? And they took power when they were in their 30s. So it's the way forward. It's now what we are doing, right? But we also need to mobilize more funds. Like I said, it's an investment. We need to mobilize more funds. We need to be business minded about this and see, okay, we need to edge out those guys because we can't keep trusting them for the past 4 decades and they have done nothing. Right? So we need to have more funds. We need to attract more funds. Our peers in abroad or in the diaspora can now say, okay, what do you guys need? How do we raise funds? How do we push? Because we did it in NSAS. So we need to move from outrage to practical, to being very practical, right? And strategic. First, seeing these guys as our enemies. That's who they are. Well, I'm sorry, but that's who they are. Seeing them, but not our enemies for us to kill them, right? But our enemies for us to edge them out, right? And hopefully change this notion that politics, it's a criminal enterprise, that people shouldn't get involved. People should get involved because it determines how you go home.
Now that you've said this, right, because you said something, that we need to see them as our enemies and then also try to change the notion. Don't you, do we see them as our enemies first, or do we start, to try and reorient people to look at politics as a space that all of us should be a part of? Which one goes first?
I think another thing is that we give up too much. We're that's our attention span is so jellyfish is not even the word for it. We move on so much, right? There is this momentum that we came with the last movement, the obedient movement, right? And people are aware of what is happening. It's not about orientation shifting. People are aware that we are suffering. You go to the market, right? You see the number of people asking you for funds have increased. Have they not?
Number of beggars on the street. Very true.
So people are aware. So it's not about changing orientation, but because we have, now going back to the church, because we have this mosaic mentality of somebody coming to save us. So we're waiting for the next, what's that guy's name? Very dark man. Or we're waiting for the next P2B. Or we're trusting the next generation to do something for us. So we're not going to sustain a movement. So I think what we need to do is to sustain a movement. If we say this person is bad, let's keep saying it.
But how are we going to do all this if the because you said something that we give up too quickly.
Yeah.
So how are we going to build a mindset that is strong enough to combat whatever, because one thing is change doesn't come without trial. You decide you want to change something.
Yeah.
Some other factors are going to affect,
Of course.
your idea towards that change. So what you need is to have a strong mindset, that I am going to do this. So how are we going to achieve all these things if we do not have a reorientation?
If by now the hunger in the town have not reorientated your mind, I don't think anything else will. Right?
But you know that human psychology is very it's very diverse.
Of course. But okay. So now from what happened in 2023, people after that election, people said, "Oh, never again. I will never vote again. This one you don't want." Now, what is the problem? The problem is not about you voting. The problem is that you voted and your vote didn't count. So the next question should be, what will I do for my vote to count next time? I think that's the mindset.
How do we put people in the position to have this mindset?
So it's about constant communication. Okay. So here is what we need to do to constantly tell people. So there is this new thing on Twitter. I don't know, maybe others. Nigeria is never going to make it. Right? I think is this older generation that is pushing that narrative. Because it keeps going. Every small thing, you tweet, Nigeria is never going to make it. And then, I'm leaving, I'm packing my bags, I'm out. How many of your friends have left the country?
I would say 80%.
Yeah. Are the older generation, are they still making money or not? They are making money, but you're running away. So we're giving up so much. We are running away. We're leaving our country. We're leaving our home. Our friends are scattered all over the world because some persons decided to tank the economy, and we can't look them in the face and say, enough is enough. And we can't stand and say, okay, let's put in 10 years strategically and edge this guy out. Let's put in 20 years. Let's put in 15 years. So the last election happened. Fine. But there was an awakening in the last election. People now started interrogating facts. People started now listening to politicians talk. We wanted to hear from our politician. So it comes back to effective communication. So on this other side, what I think some of us in politics are doing right now is to keep speaking. So look at Obi. Obi never stopped talking. If you attack him, the next morning, he's putting out a tweet.
He has a response for you.
The next 2 days, he's putting out a tweet. He's on the subject.
But oftentimes, when you look at individuals who have this, resilient attitude towards change, don't you also notice that they have a background that has sort of, given them an orientation to toe that line?
Well, yes, maybe there is, right? But it's something I think we can scale, right? It's something I think we can scale.
Yeah, so that doesn't that sort of redirect us back to sensitization, orientation, conversations, community building?
Of course. Somebody said on the Take Back Nigeria, there was this movement we started, 2022, the Take Back Nigeria movement. Somebody said on Take Back Nigeria movement that we've stopped doing the things we were doing before last election. So yes, so we need constant sensitization, constant awareness. But no matter what we do, no matter how much awareness we try to create, the state, it goes back to the state, right? If we get a functioning state, it takes the state maybe 2 years, 3 years to reorientate. If the state decides to, okay, I'll say this. 2 years ago, I went to an event and they were talking about bringing back Nollywood to Enugu. And I looked at them, I said, no, you don't bring back Nollywood to Enugu. You build the new Nollywood. What does it take to build the new Nollywood?
You build a section of Nollywood.
Yeah, what does it take? You go to primary schools and introduce back theater art, right? Secondary school, theater art.
Grassroots.
Secondary, university, theater art. So in the next 10 years, you have people doing theater on the street. And that's how
you build that.
How's that you bring back? So you don't go and start hunting Lagos people and try to drag them down to Enugu. So and the state can do that. So this is the power of the state. The state can coordinate in that manner, and things will rapidly change. But for us, I might say, so it's constantly we're doing that because we don't have we don't have that reach as the state, right? The state, you look at the state owns radio, they own television, they own the town union people, they own every means that they can use to reach and effectively communicate. But because they don't want to effectively communicate, they don't want to be transparent about politics. So that's why when you are outside, you think politics is where you should go and commit crime. If the state wants to get you today, it's just like when you make a tweet on Twitter and they want to go find you anywhere you are, they will find you. But a bandit is putting up videos of the money he got and everything, and they don't find him because for them, this doesn't matter. But when they want to find you, they will go at any length to get you.
Find you.
So it's squarely on the state, but I'm not saying we won't
You're not alleviating the responsibility that individuals very, very, very crucial. Now, moving on to, or rather, let's say, solutions to our topic, right? How do we redirect the idea that politics is not for personal gain? Politics at the state, federal level is not for personal gain, that it is it is an industry that you get into to serve people.
Okay. When Tinubu came in, he took out subsidy. Subsidy is gone on the first day, right? And people ask, will Obi do the same? Likely Obi might do the same, but the two approach here is what will be the difference. Obi will cut the cost of governance. You will see a drastic cut. So if we want our politics to change, right? We need to, in my office, we have a schedule, how much everybody earns. We need to know how much every politician earns. How do you, in the last 2 years, how are you able to afford the car you're driving? How are you able to build the house? Because if you earn 600,000 now, you can't even buy a land in Enugu. Right?
No, let's talk about the basics first. Can you afford your life? Can you afford living?
Do you understand? Yeah. There. So we need to know that. So if we can tackle accountability, right? If the state can become accountable, right? I think so many of those things will reduce. A driver will not be hoping that one day by miracle he will get to become the governor, and then he will have his time to get from the national cake. And this is not a national cake. This is our money, right? And yes, people should get into politics for selfish reasons. Honestly.
Buttress, please.
Well, okay. So why are you getting into politics? You must have a reason, a personal reason why you want to get into politics. Now, if I've been pushing to go, if I get into politics, the reason why I want to get into politics is because I want to improve on heritage tourism. It's selfish. The market woman is not thinking about heritage tourism. She's thinking about the price of food, right? So like I said, it's a conglomerate of so many people who are coming into politics. So everybody have their own interest. So that interest, that selfish interest, should have an industry backing it. So now, because I have interest in heritage tourism, I have interest in tourism, the hotels, the bars, because if I get into politics, obviously keke won't be banned by 9 p.m. because I want the nightlife to improve, right? So this industry should be the one funding this interest, right? If a tech person gets into politics, the tech community
reflects on the tech community.
These are individual interests, right? These are individual which translates to service, right? Because, if we use that word service, it doesn't get down. But service is what we do day to day to improve our lives, right? And what we do day to day, food, shelter, roads and all those things. So if Umehia, the Ebonyi State governor, got into politics. Umahi got into politics. What happened? Using cement to construct road became a thing because he believes, as an engineer, that this is the best thing to do. And he started doing it in Ebonyi State, and then even took it to the federal. Just a single, and he's adamant on it that this works. Even when we're now saying that it's not working, but he's still insisting that it works. So it's about personal interest. It's about, selfish interest that you carry into. But these things should be accountable.
We should be able to probe them.
People should be able to interrogate them. Yes. So, and that's where effective communication come in. That's where we want our leaders to talk to us. That's where we want our House of Representatives to look at their WhatsApp and respond to you because he's serving you. And people call governors daddy. He's not your father. Go home to your father. He's there. He's the governor. He's the chief executive officer of the state. He's responsible to you. You can call him out anytime you wake up. You can, if there is no light in my house, I can accuse the governor for not having light in my house because he's the chief executive officer. So he's there for my interest. So if he's not representing my interest, I should be worried. I should be, I should be able to voice it out. And I'm not attacking your person. I'm attacking the office. I'm attacking the state because the state, like I said, should be more responsible than the individual. And that's what I think it should be.
Thank you very much, Ajulu. I mean, the last thing you said has just opened up another conversation, which is the fact that the concept of respect has been weaponized so much. It's become a tool of oppression, but that's a conversation for another day. Yeah. This has really been insightful. And then you've heard it yourself. We need to be a part of this system. If we're going to, bring up any form of change, we all need to join the movement. We all need to speak up. We need to, I think it's really a mindset thing. But unfortunately, every good thing comes to an end. And we've come to the end of today's episode of Onye Afia. Until next time when I come your way again, I am Odera Collins, and it's a pleasure. Bye for now.
Onye Afia, proudly brought to you by Qtix PLC, exclusive quality since 1982.